thought it was funny.
No, it wasn't.
It is.
He seems to think that a mallet is going to be of interest to people.
Well, no, I've got my hammer and I want to hammer things. We're going to be hammering on your door this
everybody.
morning.
Welcome to the No Name Sunday Show.
Do you want to know what number this is?
38.
37. And what's the first section of the Sunday Show every Sunday, Miss Sawalha?
Who let the dogs out? Ooh, 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 ooh. Who let the dogs out? Ooh, ooh.
So the first dish of the morning after dish. I like calling it the morning after dish because it makes me remember the days when I used to have a hangover.
It's not really a morning after the dish though, because it's a big family dish.
Yeah, what is it?
So it is a dish called moussakhan, which is a Palestinian dish. It's one of my favourites Middle Eastern dishes. You'll have seen it out and about in the vlogs, because sometimes I'm serving it up in the vlog, but I've never actually made it directly for you. So this is how to do it.
And the kids call it pink chicken, don't they?
Chicken.
Which is so sweet. What's going on? What's going on?
Literally beside myself.
Why?
I just wish these drawers could be organised.
Babe, you've got no one to blame but yourself.
I can't find the attachment to do the onions. Look how many onions I've got to cut. And they have to be the same thickness, otherwise the dish...
What, the pull thingy?
I need the thing that goes on here for onions. This is a disaster. I can't do grated onions, that doesn't work. Oh my God, babe. Have you seen it anywhere, the thing that cuts the onions?
No.
Oh my God, it's a tip in here again. I cleared this up. Could I do... Ah! Hello everybody. I'm just making a dish very close to my heart. Moo! Ah! Is that your ankle? Are you alright? Oh, Ma! Are you alright?
Trying to keep filming.
It's because he was walking backwards and he fell off the step. Are you alright? Did you do your ankle? Sweetie.
Really hurt my elbow.
Oh, darling. Oh. Oh, God. You absolute idiot. You know there's a step there. Anyway. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen. And today I'm making moussakhan. Moussakhan. Not moussaka, like you would have in a Greek. It's the Greek thing, moussakhan. This is moussaka. This is moussahan.
You're right.
Which is actually
What's happened?
a Palestinian dish. I made this actually on my Nadia's family feasts, and I kept thinking that I need to make it for you guys. This is a dish that I used to love as a child. Absolutely loved it. It was my favourite dish. And actually, my mum's story is that when she first had this dish, when her and my dad went over to Jordan, she decided there and then she was going to have to marry my dad.
Well,
So we used tons and tons of onions, tons of chicken, pita bread, and this spice that more and more you see people using now. But all through my childhood, there wouldn't have been a single person that would have
What is
known
it?
in this country what sumac was. And I don't want to call it a spice because it's not hot in any way, but it's kind of a spice. So I think I've shown you it before when I've been making hummus and stuff. It's very red, it comes from a berry. And what I love is that growing right next to the tree where this berry is grown is an identical berry that if you eat it, it will kill you. It's very...
I love the Arabs. They have to keep you on your toes.
Keep you on your toes.
Can I just say, this was also the dish that when you cooked for me, I think I decided I wanted to marry you.
Yeah. And Izzy is coming for lunch today and she loves this dish, so I'm kind of cooking it for Izzy as well as you guys. The chicken. Now I've cut this up and we've decided to show you how to cut up one chicken, though we were a bit scared about the vegetarians and vegans. But what I would say with this dish is you can do the bread and the onions and the sumac, and you could add something. You could for vegetarians, you could have feta cheese with it instead of chicken. First of all, I'm just going to show you how to cut up a chicken. Now, cutting up a chicken is actually very easy. And the thing is, in this country, I think we're probably one of the only countries that are still so squeamish about things like this. You know, if you can eat a bird, then why be squeamish about all of the rest
If
of
you
it?
can eat a bird, why can't you...
Mark, do not put that in. I mean it. I mean it.
There's the bird.
So there's the bird. We've already cut up those. Now, it's so much cheaper to buy a bird and cut it up than buy individual pieces. But the reason that I buy the whole bird like this is this dish, I mean, you can just use breasts, but it works much, much better if the chicken is on the bone. So I wanted, most of the family want breast. But because you want it to cook for a little while in the oven, because you want all the onions and bread and everything, all the flavours to meld, you can't really cook it long enough if the chicken is off the bone. So you want it on the bone because it keeps it moist and gives it flavour.
Can I just ask, why are chicken breasts so expensive? They were £6 for two.
So expensive.
What?
Yeah.
Especially
But
bloody
it should,
organic.
because we're trying to make people eat less chicken.
That's not why.
If you buy rubbish battery farm chicken, it's very cheap.
Have you seen there's a new tendency to farm chickens and they're feeding them gin. They feed them gin for flavour.
Shut up. Okay, so I've got my breast, I've got my chicken. I don't know where.
Where are your breasts?
Shall I go here? Come over. Sharp knife into the leg. Okay, then break open the look, Chi-Chi's here. Next leg.
That's in her DNA.
Are you watching?
Yeah.
Next leg. Just to there.
Wow. You're quite adept at this.
My mum taught me how to do this.
Wow, you're good. Chi-Chi. Oh, you sniffing.
And then down the breast.
That's a good knife.
That's a better knife. Next important part, drying the chicken, because I'm going to be browning it in oil and it will spit like crazy.
I thought that one of them didn't look as corn-fed as the others.
Basically, this dish is a big tray with thin layers of bread piled with onions cooked in olive oil and sumac, and then chicken on top, and then more onions and sumac on top. So imagine that all cooks down into the bread and gets crispy and soggy and delicious. And then on top of all of that goes lots of fried nuts. So really nice.
Sure.
I mean, lots of people don't like to brown chicken because it's a bit faffy, but I don't want a flabby white chicken. I want it to be a bit browned.
Who likes a flabby white chicken?
Well, some people just like kind of steam the chicken and then put it on the bread.
You've got
and I don't
stereo
like it.
pans.
Stereo pans. So,
Making the platters that matter.
platters that matter, baby. So, in they go. Just going to turn that a little bit down. And I tend to cook, when I'm browning, the thighs together, the breasts together, the legs together, because they cook at different times. Now these breasts are huge, so they will go into the oven at the same time as the legs. But if you've got a smaller breast, then what I would say is when it goes into the oven, wait 10 minutes and then add the breast, because you don't want them to be dry. Everything is about making sure the breast doesn't get dry. Okay, so I won't put any more in than that. That's why I'm using a couple of pans, because we want them to brown. We're not cooking them now, we're just browning them so that they look really nice. Stand back. Stand back. Stand back. Now look at this little technique I use. I put the foil like that. Do not think, oh, my chicken's spitting, I'll put a lid on it. Don't do that, because you'll get loads of steam and it will spit and go crazy. So this way it protects me, but it's not creating any steam. So let's have a look. Remember, we don't want to cook these, there we go. That's kind of how you want them to look. Just browned. Perfect. I would like that wing browned a bit more. So. Perfect. And so with the other side, I'm not browning it, I'm just searing it. So now, these are ready to come out. Wow, that's a gorgeous looking breast. And I did mean that from a culinary perspective. Okay, so now the legs go in. And then I haven't seasoned them or anything because I don't want to, I'll do that when they go into the baking tray because I don't want to draw out any of the moisture.
Oh, hello. How are you?
I'm fine, how's everyone?
Good.
Oh, they look lovely. Gorgeously fried chicken. You have to be careful, you have to keep it on a steady heat. Heat the oil slowly. You know, still to this day, and my mum's a great cook, she always gave me this job, frying, because she said I can't do it. It's a little bit of a skill. It's just getting the heat to just the right point and then keeping your eye on it. You get that lovely, and because it's corn-fed chicken, you've got that lovely golden colour to it.
You've already laid them out?
No, I'm going to do the second tray of bread to show you. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, I used to have to cut all these onions by hand. Oh, and the thing is, some things are better to do by hand, but I think onions in a processor like this is better for this dish because you want them to be all the same thickness, so that you haven't got a crunchy onion and an over soft onion. So here we go. Look at this, Joy. Look. There you go. 2 seconds done and no tears. You want a good dose of oil. This is such a childhood memory for me. This is in my first book, Stuff Finally Saved My Life. I know lots of you've got that book. So literally now, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to let them cook down nice and slowly. Then add the sumac and then the next batch. Okay. So those onions are done now. They're not browned. You don't want them browned. You just want them softened. Because they're going to go in the oven with the chicken and the bread for about 45 minutes. So if you had 6 onions, imagine this is 6 onions. I've got a bit more because I'm making a lot. I would say about 4 to 6 teaspoons. Now the thing about sumac is it's fragrant. It's not hot at all. It's fragrant and it has a very citrus flavour. It's lemony. Right, so yum, salt. A little bit more of a cook with the sumac in. This is a good brand, Alfez. I got that actually on Amazon, but Ocado and Waitrose sell it. I think Sainsbury's might sell it. I'm just going to put the rest in. So just a little olive oil, not much, in the tray, because we want the bottom of that bread to be nice and crispy. Doesn't matter if it's sort of a bit broken up either. And you just lay your bread. Guess what? I've got one I've prepared earlier. So swap it over.
Hey.
There we go. So I leave little gaps in between because sometimes I've done it and I've laid the bread everywhere and it's just a bit too soggy because you want that mixture of textures. You want a bit of crunch. That's the bit you like, isn't it, Mark, around the edge? And then, oh no, you like the soggy in the middle.
Like both.
Everyone's got their different bits that they like the most. You can, of course, put a lot less onion on if you want. You don't. We love the onions here, but you can put less if you're thinking, God almighty.
She calls it the red chicken. The girls call it red chicken.
Pink chicken.
Pink chicken.
Because that's what I used to call it when they were little to try and get them to eat it. What I do is usually sprinkle a bit more
I
samar.
remember you making this for Izzy when one of the first times she saw you, met you.
Yeah,
She loved it.
It's incredible the way kids like
It's
this.
so, well, because it's magical. You think pink chicken. Wow, it's that.
Yeah,
Arabic thing again.
it was calling it pink chicken that got them all to eat it.
Yeah, that's so clever. That's the whole Arabian thing. It's the attraction of Aladdin and all that, isn't it?
Oh God, Mark, how good does it smell already?
Yeah, really good.
You won't see anyone else make this on social media. Nobody like this. There you go. The bits that are a bit sturdier, I put round the edge, the breast, the legs, because they can take getting a bit crispier and a bit, you know, a bit hotter, and then. That's a really big breast, so it could go more on the edge. Now I'm going to season. You see that lovely oil and the onions. Really nice in the breast because it keeps it nice and juicy. There you go. So that will, I'm just sprinkling a little more sumac on the top, and that's just going to sit now for a couple of hours. I'm going to put it in a nice cold room next door, and then it will go into the oven on 200 for about 45 minutes, and then on top will go lots of toasted nuts. Look at that. There you go. There we go. Oh, look at that. So that had about 45, 50 minutes. That's what you kind of want it to look like. And then here I have fried some pine nuts. If I had some almonds, I'd have put some almonds on as well. And a little parsley. Et voila. There you go. Delicious. Moussakan. Say it, Mark.
Moussakan.
Not moussaka, moussakan.
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 There you go. Where are we going to now?
the background sweeping. That's Nanny Di, about to do the memes. She doesn't know whether she's coming or going.
No,
You know what's going on, Mum? What day is it?
Tuesday.
Well done. Okay.
Okay, shall I roll?
Yeah, roll with it.
So, me getting ready for a Zoom meeting after having a mental breakdown.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Aww. And as if by magic, you're on the other side, Christopher Walken.
Me looking at someone behind me who's not standing on the 2 metre away sticker on the floor in school.
I do that all the time. It's very fun.
Okay, so you know how shooting parties are exempt from the
Yes.
6 people thing? Somebody did this saying, me shooting a pigeon at a rave to keep things legal.
Yeah, that's true actually.
So funny.
They could shoot, yeah.
Me every morning asking myself why I didn't get to sleep earlier the night before. So accurate.
Look how quick my son will listen if I tell him to have a cupcake.
Oh.
So someone, are you drunk? Me, no, I'm good. Also me.
Oh, bless.
So you know that filter we put on you ages ago and it like turned you into a man?
Yeah.
This guy did it on his grandma, but she thinks it's a man, like an actual man is in the
Oh
camera.
no.
Oh my god, who the hell is this?
No offense to myself or whatever, but what the fuck am I actually doing?
That's me.
Oh my god, who the hell is this?
Right. He's like, enough.
Whoa.
Me not going to the pub, mates come to the pub, me.
Okay.
Then there was this. Just casual 2020 things, nothing to be concerned. Look at the street lights. It looks so scary.
Whoa.
Oh,
So expensive.
so eerie.
To be honest with you, man, she's a To be honest with you, man, she's a
Idiot.
What police see when they break up a high school party.
Oh my god.
Now everyone runs away in different directions.
That is really clever. Isn't it?
Good.
It's so
How
true.
did they get them to do that?
They're funny.
Oh my god.
So, good morning. Did you know there's a life-size Jason Voorhees statue standing 120 feet down in Crystal Lake in Minnesota? The way 2020 is set up, that motherfucker's going to come alive next week. This is another one. You know how I was telling you, I think it was like last week, about how Adele posted that
Yes.
photo back Carnival. So I did this. Adele's next album intro.
Big up the whole island, massive. It's that boy Chatana, coming straight from the Golden Globes, you want to say? It's the father Tom Hanks presenting in a while, soon forward come. Big up,
So funny. It's cracking me up. Then I found this video crazy. Look, the simulation is broken. Look, it's just raining in one place, and there's nothing above it. Everyone's like, the simulation.
Raining in one place.
Oh wow. That could happen.
No, it is. That's real.
Yeah, no, I know, but
I don't know what's happened though.
no, that's.
Man, I'm not making that.
Oh, you idiot! Oh, he's hurt himself.
He's said halfway that he knew he wasn't going to make it.
Oh
What?
no. Oh, nearly. Oh.
Oh yeah, that's it.
No, put it to one side.
What the fuck are you guys doing? This is not a frat house. Are you fucking kidding me?
Drinking from a funnel. Oh, so funny. That's what I got.
That's you, Mum.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Hey, Mum.
Good. Very good.
Done.
Dad. I mean, Mark.
Just say.
Dad.
Everywhere you look, there's effing COVID. Everywhere you look, there's effing Boris. Everywhere you look, it's just misery. But we're going to find other news, aren't we, Nads?
Yes, we are.
Other news.
We're going to work very hard and we're going to find something, anything that isn't COVID depressing.
And there might be something in there about Bond. James Bond.
And about nightingales.
Ooh. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. It's the news.
Oh, God.
Papers.
God.
I've just come off a coffee moaning this morning, having a right old moan. And I'm not going to go back to the same stories. Anyway, give us your
I thought I'd
first one.
start with something a little light, a little silly. Britons are already looking for their Christmas turkey.
Oh, that's got to
No, yeah.
prefigure.
The thank of Christmas. The thank of Christmas.
So creepy, isn't it?
Sainsbury's has said it's seen a jump in customers searching
Really?
for frozen turkeys, Christmas trees. They think this is a mixture of things. People are just weary of 6 months of social restrictions, and also I think people are a bit nervous as to whether they're going to be able to get stuff.
Oh, I see. So you think there's a bit of hoarding going on, potentially?
Maybe there's a bit of hoarding, yeah.
I think I think there's going to be an element of wanting to drag Christmas to us a bit quicker, don't you?
Well, they're saying that.
Yeah.
So they're pulling
Something to be
forward
joyful
some of the
about.
plans in response.
Ah.
So they will be launching a limited first wave of Christmas products.
But hang on a minute. If you get a Christmas turkey early, what do you mean?
Frozen.
You just chuck it in the freezer?
Maybe they're just wanting to order it.
Oh, right, okay. Obviously, all over nearly the fronts of every single paper is the £10,000 fine for people failing to self-isolate as infection sore. And if I see the phrase carrot and stick again, I'm going to get my donkey alter ego out and eat that carrot.
Can you make a donkey sound? That's quite good.
That really hurt. But can I just say, this keeps seeing this headline everywhere. For me, it's an absolutely meaningless fine. I'm not saying that we don't need to have it. We need to have sort of some kind of strict process in place. But here's the thing: the vast majority of people who are going to break the rule have no way of being able to afford paying it. So it's going to clog up the courts. You're going to have people who can't afford to do it not being taught a lesson, but it's probably going to be delayed by 9, 12, 30. It's not an effective deterrent.
I mean, it's rather like, all the threats about, neighbours should snitch on other neighbours, the fact that you're going to have COVID marshals.
Yeah.
It's all very well to say all of this, but how are you actually going to enforce anything?
But that's what
I think if the government keeps on making these empty threats, they will all become meaningless. Having said that, having just seen that they know that there was a super spreader in Oldham that came back from holiday, was asymptomatic, didn't self-isolate, and they think it went on a pub crawl, and they think potentially, exponentially, of course, spread to thousands.
But you see,
so you can see why they're desperate to put the fear of God into people. As you say,
a £10,000 fine.
Who's going to be able to
if you can't afford it, all you're going to do is clog it. It's going to become an administrative nightmare. To be honest with you, in that situation with that guy who just ran around and infected her, I think you've got to go even harder. You've got to just arrest people. You actually have to arrest and charge them, not fine them. A fine is tomorrow's problem for everyone. Yeah. Parking fines, everything. One of the other stories in the papers, I'm trying to sort of dodge COVID because it's so depressing, but there's, this is interesting. I mean, the most famous phrase from Game of Thrones is winter is coming, and that is it always suggests death, horror, and everything. I can't believe how real life is emulating Game of Thrones. But places like Homebase and John Lewis and sort of homeware stores are reporting a surge in Britons buying outdoor heaters.
That's why I said a few weeks ago, get your heaters now. You watch the price is going to go
all
crazy.
That sort of stuff. And they're talking about the fact that we need to embrace an al fresco approach to life. They talk about the examples of Sweden and Norway and Denmark, where it's quite standard to see people actually put on lots of layers of clothes and stand outside and meet people in communal areas. So I got quite slightly excited about that, thinking that, it'd be a bit cold.
That's what I keep saying, we need to get an open fire out there. We'll make a thing out of it.
But I was thinking of getting nice thick coats and woolly jumpers and all that kind of stuff. So I think let's embrace it rather than fear it.
This one caught my eye because you were a bit obsessed with this. Did anyone watch the Dennis Nielsen drama? If any of you did, the smoking was off the scale. It made me really, really pleased that I didn't smoke anymore, and I felt a bit like smoky smelling.
Can I say?
But it made you fancy a fag,
Well,
didn't
no,
it?
but can I say my theory on that? When I used to make programmes for the BBC, me and my editor, who I used to work with quite frequently on most of the stuff we put out, without anyone knowing, we used to always put on the soundtrack somewhere in whatever we made the sound of a crow crowing at a certain point.
Okay.
Just for us. We knew it was there, it made us chuckle. And I felt a little bit like someone in the production of this said, let's start every scene with a big close-up of a cigarette, just because it would be funny.
Well, apparently, the cigarettes featured in 46 scenes, taking up, wait for it, 13 minutes and 47 seconds of screen time. I don't think I've ever seen anything with as much smoking.
I don't either. I think
really
they overdid it a little bit.
I do.
It was like watching an ashtray.
Yeah. So they said the only one that wasn't smoking was Nielsen's dog.
That's true.
So there's been quite a few
That's
complaints.
very true.
Like there is. There has to be complaints about bloody everything these days.
This is one for Nanny Di. The Royal Academy is in such a financial dire strait and is looking at potential...
She's over there going, oh.
and is potentially on the cusp of having to fire numerous individuals. And of course, for the Royal Academy, that will be the lowly paid, people who work in the sort of administrative areas, the invigilators in the galleries and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, they're really cash strapped, but they might have a solution. If they sell Michelangelo's marble masterpiece known as the Tadai Tondo, they could raise more than £100 million. Wow. So they're thinking, a number of royal academicians, I can never say it.
Academics?
No, they're called academicians, aren't they? Academicians. They are recommending that rather than firing people and engaging in redundancies, sell this really expensive work, and it could just completely solve the financial dilemma of the Royal Academy.
Most of the rest of Europe have extended their furlough schemes until...
Germany's till the end of 2021.
I mean, how are we going to just cut people off? And apparently Rishi Dishy is going to put a freeze on all benefits and everything. He's gone really hard. He's going really hard.
You can have a Rishi when the boat comes in. Dance to your daddy, dance to your mummy.
Right, I don't know about anyone else, I am really, really worried about the whole e-scooter.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this.
The thing is, obviously, it's as far as the whole green issue is concerned, obviously they seem like a great solution.
I thought they worked in Berlin when we were there.
Are you kidding? We moaned about them all the time.
You did, I didn't.
Oh no, I thought they were so dangerous, absolute idiots on them. Anyway, just a little, of course we had the first death, didn't we, with the YouTuber Emily Hartridge.
Oh, that's right, yes.
She was killed with a collision with a lorry. But I think this was last week, the yoga teacher walking along a toll path, riding along on her bicycle, and one of these e-scooters came up behind her and knocked her off and knocked her into the canal. She had her rucksack, heavy cardigan, she was screaming, couldn't get any help, tried to swim to a narrow boat, couldn't get there because of the heavy cardigan. And then eventually somebody heard her and got her out. Of course, she then had to have Weil's disease tests and tetanus injections. Absolutely petrifying. Can you imagine? The guy didn't even stop. Pure hit and run.
Hit and run e-scooter.
Yeah.
You may have noticed that we published a book recently about homeschooling, and there is a story, or there are a number of people, there's a coalition of educators who are seeking an alternative sort of exam to the GCSE.
Oh, really? really?
Schools making a bid. It's curious. This is coming from educators from schools like Eton, Bedale, St Paul's Girls' School, Latimer Upper. It's curious that it's coming from both private school and state school educators.
Wow.
What they're suggesting is that they find some kind of exam or some kind of system which is more coursework orientated and is more holistically orientated,
But we could keep banging on
and
about.
less interested in sheer, volume of subjects, but actually goes to the cause and allows them to sort of feel their way around 3 or 4 other subjects around it. And I just think it's interesting because I think it's easy for certainly in the writing of our book, it's easy to be caricatured or marginalised as someone who's a bit crackpot and a bit crazy. And we're going on to Lorraine to talk about it this week. And people are like, what do you mean you want to ban GCSEs? Like it. Just because we have them doesn't mean they're right. And what's really interesting is Kenneth Baker, who was the education minister who brought in the GCSE, is one of this group of educators lobbying for a change.
Oh, wow.
And so what we're not saying is, yes, you need some way of kind of charting what your learning is and how much you've learned, but is there a kinder, fairer, more gentler way of doing it?
This is a good one for Nanny Di. This is about nightingales. Now, nightingales sing real music, says man who duets with them. And this chap has actually made a documentary all about this. When a nightingale sings, it isn't a language. They have a few basic calls with meanings, an alarm call to warn predators, but most of it works exactly like human music. After long sessions playing the clarinet and his saxophone in Berlin.
Is that him there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Forrest duetting with them. He's published this book. The amazing thing about playing with nightingales is they leave a space for you. They don't like it if I just play back their own sounds to them. We tried playing recordings back at them and they went silent.
So nightingales sing in harmony.
Yes.
And in duets.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Nanny Di's going to say something.
One of the first recordings ever made, of a record, was an opera singer singing with a nightingale.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
That's
Can you hear that?
happened. They stopped singing. Opera singers sing.
Nightingales stop and pause, so they do genuine
They
duets.
sing. If you look on a musical
That's amazing.
stave and you see the music written down, that's how they sing.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And-
Because I did always just think it was a call to other birds.
And the really weird thing is, the other day we were in the garden having lunch with your mum and dad, and your mum was convinced that there was a nightingale in our garden. Apparently you used to have
has had a nightingale.
Yeah, I think she has.
He's got a bit of a sense of humour here. He says the oldest males have the widest repertoire of sounds, and I'm sure my fellow professors would like to believe it's the oldest males who are the most attractive. But the truth is, it's the same as with humans. The best musicians aren't the strongest or more attractive. It's an end in itself.
A couple of thoughts here. You probably saw from our coffee moaning guys, Tom Hardy is the new James Bond. That's big news. Don't know if Nanny Di's heard that, but yeah, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy!
Tom Hardy is the new James Bond. Yeah, absolutely. But alongside that, this is a great... I'm entering the gully of puntastic headlines. Charlie at the Palace. What do you think that might be about? Charlie at the Palace. Royal exclusive. Drugs seized from guests. Celebs with cocaine are thought to be among 16 people caught smuggling illegal items into Buckingham Palace.
No!
Yeah. A breakdown of offences at all royal palaces has been provided by the Met. All crimes in the 12 months to July the 1st, but 12 of them were smuggling in illegal drugs.
What is this for parties?
Well, for knighthoods, for all sorts of things.
Good
Yeah.
God.
Philip, what have you been feeding the corgis?
I thought you might like this one, Mark. Ministers fear that Whitty will quit and spill the beans if he doesn't get his way on lockdown.
Whistleblower.
I mean...
He's looking quite severe. I mean, he's lobbying hard for lockdown, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
And of course, there are plenty of people that don't agree with it. But wouldn't that be a thing if he walked out? Because Neil Ferguson has become quite vocal, hasn't he? I mean, famously saying that they all told them to lock down a week before and they would have saved 20,000 deaths.
I think Chris Whitty looks like his head's going to explode.
What does Whitty know?
Yeah, where's Whitty?
Yeah, where is Whitty? But the reassuring thing about this, with this little piece, is this graph here, which actually shows that we are much lower on the scale than I thought we were.
Do you know what I'm sick of seeing? More and more graphs that are just manipulated to look dramatic.
Yeah.
I'm really sick of
But
them.
daily deaths per million residents, and we've got them all there for Europe. Sweden, zero. What did Sweden do? Herd immunity.
Did you know I fancy a younger Man City? Manchester is the cougar capital of the UK.
Oh, God.
Apparently, Manchester, 2/3 of women aged 30 to 59 have pulled a toy boy in Manchester. Just beneath Manchester is Leicester. Women today realise that life doesn't end at 40 and being seen with a younger man is no longer an issue. Younger men are attracted to the confidence of an older woman, but they can be sexually experienced, which is a big turn on. So, yeah, lots of cougars in Manchester.
This is a bit of good news for people to save a few pennies. It's now been, there is going to be a new law brought out that parents will be able to kit out their kids with cheaper uniforms.
Wow.
The Children's Society estimates a full outfit costs £337 a year. Disgusting. But can be half that in high street stores and supermarkets.
Think about what the uniform is. It's like a military outfit.
And then you've got, you know, kids whose families really can't afford it that then have to be embarrassed into wearing something different. I think it is shocking. And they're always made of terrible material.
I've never been a believer in this. I never wore, and it's quite rare actually for my generation, I never ever wore a school uniform in any of my schools.
No, I didn't all of
And
them.
I know the argument is always, but, you know, if you don't have a uniform, you've got the haves and the have-nots, and you've got this and you've got that. But I notice with every other kid that goes to schools with uniforms, the way they wear the uniform, they're still doing that with other shit.
Yeah.
They're still, it's the way you wear it, or you don't wear it, or you get it, you know, it's not washed, all that kind of stuff. My girl crush on Loose Women, Christine Lampard, there's a story here saying that apparently Frank Lampard asks Christine to help manage his squad. He asks her advice when dealing with troublesome or players that are going through crises or problems.
She's a very good
I think I'd ask her for help. I'd ask her for help. And this is a final picture one. Bulldog Dave's matched potato.
Oh my God.
He uncovered a potato that looks just like his bulldog.
Doesn't it?
Isn't that funny? And given that everything, you know, serial killers are all the rage at the moment, Rose and Myra's TV love affair, you were talking about this the other day, Rose West's affair with Myra Hindley, what a hideous
How is that even
comprehension.
allowed?
How is it even allowed? Exactly. Just separate them quick. It's being turned into a television show of some form. So you've got that to look forward to.
Exactly, we won't be watching that.
So there you go, guys. Where are we going next? Annie Di?
I don't know, but it would be good if the Nightingale sang now,
Wouldn't
wouldn't it?
it? Dessert time, the munch brunch. What is it?
It's so evil. It's so evil. You
It's
know
a bit
my little
contentious,
obsession
though.
with John Waite on Instagram?
What is this
It's a
obsession?
contentious name. It's called Slutty Rolo Brownies. Not meaning as in the really derogatory term, but just a bit mucky and a bit naughty and a bit indulgent.
God, it made it sound even worse.
This is the most decadent little pudding I'm making. Not pudding, bake. Very decadent. I was just telling Dina about it actually, and she was like, ugh. And I said, yeah, but you don't know our subs, you don't know our family members. They love a sweet, sticky, dangerous pudding. Now, it's not my
I thought you were going
recipe.
to describe a woman then.
It's not my recipe. It's John Waite's from Instagram.
Oh my God, what's he doing in here again?
Well, there's a big furore about this recipe because he made it and he called it Slutty Rolo Brownies, which apparently is a thing, Slutty Rolo Brownies. Slutty in that you're just having everything and you don't care. Anyway, trolls got hold of him, went crazy about using the word slut. He took the recipe down and then he thought, listen, I had no bad intention with that. I think slutty is messy and da-da-da. So he put it back up on Instagram. As a fight against the trolls, I'm also going to make Slutty Rolo Brownies. I've never made them before. We're gonna experience this together, guys. But first of all, get a pen and paper because I'm just gonna read out the ingredients for you.
Got my paper.
Got pen and paper because this is 3 layers. So you've got like a cookie dough mix at the bottom, then you've got a layer of Rolos, and then on the top you've got like a squidgy chocolatey brownie layer. They're going to be amazing. First of all, the cookie dough, which is going to go on the bottom, you need 110 grams of butter, softened, 125 grams of light brown sugar, a large egg. I haven't got a large egg, so I'm going to use an egg and a half. 225 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of bicarb, and 75 grams of chocolate chips, or I've just used some broken up chocolate. Then you're going to need 3 packs of Rolos. I've got these weird small packs, so I think I'm probably going to need about 6.
Any ideas?
Then the brownie layer, 135 grams of dark chocolate, 135 grams of unsalted butter, 175 grams of caster sugar, so rude, this dish, and 100 grams of plain flour and 2 large eggs. It's evil. You know, if you're going to make this and have it, just have a tiny bit. So I've got my oven on at 180 degrees, and I've got my 20 centimetre square tin greased and lined. I'll put that to one side. So first of all, we're going to make the cookie dough base. So I'm putting in my light brown sugar and my butter, my first wodge of butter, and I'm just going to whisk them together. Cause I'm happy and cause I'm happy and Okay, so it says a large egg, so I'm going to use 1.5. It's hard to use 1.5 eggs.
So how do you do 1.5?
It's not easy. I'm just going to guess. Do you reckon that's 1.5? Whisk that in. Okay, so now I'm going to add my flour, bicarb, so there's my cookie dough. Now, I think this is a bit extreme now, adding chocolate chips in here as well. So if you agree with me, then don't put them in. But I just want to do the full recipe. So in that goes. This is just evil. Absolutely evil. I would never come up with a recipe so naughty.
So what do you think the word slut means?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was you see, I think what people thought he was saying was, like, you know, obviously using it in a derogatory term towards women. But I think he's northern, and I think it was more, oh, you slut, you messy slut, you're like a slattern, you know, like in Scots they say the slattern. And he said it's something that he uses for both men and women. He wasn't meaning it in a derogatory way towards women. I mean, my mum used to call me a slut when she used to go into my bedroom because it was such a mess. But I get it, it's offensive to some.
I suppose it is if you're calling someone it, but if you're calling a cookie it...
Yeah, so that's what I think he felt in the end. He felt like he'd been bullied out of calling it something that he had no bad intention.
What, can you call a tart a tart?
Exactly, because he does say that. Oh, you're tart. I mean, he's just very camp.
It's the slut police.
I mean, my God, if it's ever used in that way towards a woman, you know, in the way that other way we know it, I'd be the first to be screaming and shouting about it. But he really didn't mean it like that. Imagine, Kiki would like to do this.
They're like little pouches of caramel, aren't they?
Exactly. No, but it's all about the way that you say things, isn't it? Oh, don't be so slutty. It means messy as well.
Are you going to give your last ones
Do you want more?
I'm trying to lead you in.
I'll give my last Rolo to you, Mark.
That's what I don't want it.
Okay, so that goes in the freezer.
Oh, I thought it was going to go in the oven. Or it doesn't go in the freezer. Get it in.
So different from a telly show, isn't it? They'd open the freezer, there'd be nothing in it, and then they'd put their tray in. So cookie dough is in the freezer. I've got a pan of very lightly simmering water here. You don't want it bubbling like crazy because we're going to melt the chocolate and butter together. This is the dark chocolate now. I love this. Don't you love that? Look, something about chocolate all in its... I always think of Willy Wonka.
Same.
Do you?
Yeah.
Look, when you open it, is the ticket in there?
He's never in there, was he?
And then over the water, making sure that the bowl doesn't touch the water and that the steam doesn't come over and get into the chocolate. So you've got a nice tight fitting bowl. I've got a bigger bowl than usual because I'm going to then add all the other ingredients in and give it a whisk. So we just have to give it 5 minutes now really, so there's nothing more we can do than wait. Oh look, it's starting to go all nice and melty and velvety. Oh God, it's so beautiful, melty chocolate, don't you think? I get so excited about these moments. Look at that, velvety and gorgeous. That's going to make our brownie mix on the top. John, wait, you naughty boy.
You slut.
Okay, so there we have our gorgeously melted chocolate and butter. So the rest of our brownie mix now is going to be the flour and sugar. We'll whisk them in. I'll put those first for the sugar. So you don't have to worry about that being dark chocolate with all that sugar in it. That half egg. Because I needed 2 large and I've got 3 small eggs.
One-handed Joe. You're a one-handed slut.
Stop saying that word.
What?
Because if people get offended. Okay, so now I'm going to whisk this until it's velvety. Okay, so that's out the freezer.
Why did you put it in the freezer?
I was wondering when you were going to ask me that,
Hmm.
Mr. Inquisitive.
Yeah.
Usually you're like an annoying little whiny.
Well, but I think I annoy you. So
Okay,
shut
try
up.
and guess.
To solidify it?
What's it going to do when it goes in the oven if it goes in frozen?
I don't fucking know, melt.
It's going to slow down the cooking so it's more squidgy.
Oh.
You know, like cookie dough, because you don't want it to go to a biscuit, you want it a bit squidgy.
Oh.
And these won't melt immediately, so they're a mess. They'll be a little bit, we'll still be able to see the roller
So
a
it
bit.
holds back the melting moment.
Yeah, exactly. So in goes our brownie mix. I'm ignoring you. Oh my God, look at that, Mark.
I know, I'm on it.
I did this specially for you. Especially for you.
That reminds me of Willy Wonka.
I knew your camera would love this. When I watched him make it, I thought, oh, Mark would love that. All the different stages.
Beautiful. It's a slut shot.
Stop saying it.
You brought it into the room.
Yeah, but you've said it about 1 million times since.
Yeah,
Don't
John
overdo
Wade
it.
can say it, but I can't.
And I'm just gonna look just for Mark. Look at that. Bye bye, Rolo. There's the last Rolo.
Oh, it's like
Bye-bye.
lava. It's like lava from a volcano.
I know you. You see, I know how to get your goat going, baby.
I always used to say with the camera work around food with Nigel Slater that you have to treat food like a landscape.
Well, look at that. It's volcanic. That's going to go in for 35 minutes. That's what he says. But check it. And if it tastes, put a little skewer in. If it tastes a bit floury, give it a bit longer. So 35 minutes. Hashtag excited.
Hang on. Rolo. Do a roly-poly.
I don't want to. I was going to, but I hated them at school.
Do it.
No, I'm not doing it. Not without a really thick mattress. Hang on.
They used to always really hurt.
No, I'm going to do my head in. No, I'm going to give myself a neck injury.
Do it. Do a
No.
roly.
I'm too
Do a
old.
rolo.
I'm too old and too wise.
I thought you were going to say too old and too wide.
Oh, there it is. That's had 35 minutes. I think that's good. That's good because I want it a bit squidgy. If you can hear a strange sound, it's because I'm frying over there. That crackle. Oh, look at that. Nice. So I'm just going to let that sit, and when it's cooled down a bit, we'll take it out of the tin. And you can't have it because you're not very nice.
Slut!
Mark!
Once again, she's gone and bloody... What are you doing?
Oh, sorry.
Oh my God.
I forgot. Oh, it looks gorgeous,
Hang on.
guys.
Hang on, let me get me focus.
Oh my God.
What?
Hang on, I'm going to cut into a bit more of it before you can see it. So I think in the end, actually, it had about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. You really will have to keep checking it with your own oven because you want that bit of squidge, but you don't want it so runny. I mean, you could have it like a fondant pudding where it's really runny. No, you don't think so?
Oh my God, that looks so
Okay, I'm just going to heat my knife. Wow. There's the Rolo. There's the cookie dough. There's the brownie mix. What do you think? Yum?
Oh my God. Yeah?
Well, now.
Have you just tried it?
Really
Good?
nice. Really nice.
That's enough for me.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a Kardashian thing. Memes.
No?
Book review.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my book.
Hey.
It's good.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, is that the nightingale? Or is it a blackbird? Anyway, it's book of the week.
It is, and it's me. No, don't turn
Is that
it off.
it?
Yeah, because you said don't give away what you think.
No, but you tease us. You
Okay,
lure us in. You
Okay, so
temptress. Be a temptress. Be a book temptress.
we're going to Naples.
What now?
We're a young girl.
Oh. Okay. Is that it?
Well, I can give you the whole story if you want. There's my book of the week, and it's The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. Some of you may know her books from the Neapolitan novels. 4 novels were absolutely brilliant. At one time, it felt like every single person in the world was reading the Neapolitan novels, and I have to say, with those, the first book of those, I found really difficult to get into. There were so many different characters, and I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to get my head around this. But I ended up loving them. And I was wondering, I was a little bit worried if this was going to be the same, where it was going to be really hard to get into. It's not. And I think some people might be disappointed with this book if they love the Neapolitan novels, because it's not as dense as that book. It's not as detailed. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this. It's set in Naples. I actually thought it was like in the 60s, but apparently it wasn't. Apparently it was supposed to be in the 90s, but I didn't really get that sense of it at all. I've got non-stop texts coming in from Mark, so if you're wondering why my eyes keep going over there, he sent me about 5 texts in the last 20 seconds, so God knows what's going on. So basically, the main character is a girl called Giovanna, an adolescent girl, growing up, this time, not like in the Neapolitan novels where the central character was growing up in poverty. Giovanna is growing up in a very intellectual household. Her parents are both lecturers, and they hold a lot of store in education. I think her father had come from a very poor background, and he had lifted himself out of his life through education. So education was extremely important. And we find out at the beginning that she's a very, very smart girl. And then we see her move into the difficult stage of puberty, which fascinated me because, you know, I've got teenage daughters, and we are all we are all driven by the hormones that go on in this house. Both of our girls. So I loved being in this adolescent's head. She has a really loving family. She's an only child. And then one day her father says something. I won't tell you what it was. And everything pivots on this thing that she overhears her father saying, which leads her to go in search of her Aunt Victoria, who her father and her aunt have been estranged for years, and she has never really understood why that was. But anyway, this thing that her father says about her drives her to go and find her aunt. And I loved it. I loved it when she found her aunt. I'm not going to say too much, but this aunt is like so many people in my family that I cannot even tell you. Huge character. That's all I'll say for now. So, like often with Elena Ferrante's novels, the themes in this book are, you know, women and their struggle against men, their ambitions, their quest to lift themselves out of the life they're in and into a different life. The different thing with this is Giovanna, the young girl that we're following, she discovers that many of the adults in her life have told lies, big lies. It's quite uncomfortable as a parent reading it because it's the kind of lies that any of us could tell and think that we get away with it around our children. You know, our children pick up so much that we think that we're getting away with. So that's a really interesting part of it. There's a terrible lie that's gone on between her parents that literally breaks her heart and sends her into, there's no doubts about it, you never hear the word depression, but she goes into a proper adolescent depression, and it really touches on the loneliness of being a teenager, the loneliness of being a lover spurned, the loneliness of divorce, the loneliness of a single parent. It touches on the themes of an absent father. It touches on the themes of the brutality of sex in the adolescent world. And I found it very moving at points and very disturbing at points as well, which are all the things that I want from a good book. I want to be moved. I want to be touched. I want to be frightened. I want to question myself, and I want to discover something about myself. And I think all of those things happened for me with this book, and I really didn't want it to end. Having said that, when I got to the end, I turned around to Mark and went, oh, God, oh, no. I'm really, really annoyed. I was really enjoying that book, and now the end is rubbish. But thankfully, the good news is, Mark said, well, that's because it's one of 3 novels. Apparently she hasn't written them yet, so we've got a bit of a wait. But it ends on a real cliffhanger. But yeah, I would definitely recommend buying this book. For instance, I will be passing this to my mum this afternoon, and I only ever pass to my mum. I love it's so funny the way it doesn't say anything on the front because I've lost the cover. I keep just showing a blank white book. Yeah, I'll be passing this to my mum this afternoon because yeah, I think it was a really, really good book. And I'm desperate to know what happens to all the characters in it. Desperate, which is a good thing. So Eleanor, get writing, please, love. We can't really wait any longer, especially with that major cliffhanger at the end.
Connie, your dad.
Teddy talks. Teddy. Teddy. Teddy.
I like to think of him as sitting under a mushroom somewhere in the garden, don't you?
Teddy.
Ruminating.
We found Teddy. Here he is. Teddy's talking. He's ready. He's got his beret on. He's got his scarf on. We've had a coffee. I've had 4, and we're ready to hear. Oh, is it roomy today?
Not through, around.
around Rumi. And Mark and I, just before I came over here, were ruminating as to whether ruminate comes from the word Rumi. Wouldn't that be weird? So if you've only just joined the Sunday show, Rumi was an ancient philosopher that my dad...
Not that ancient.
No, 300 years.
Yeah, an Islamic scholar, a jurist, a philosopher, and a poet.
All of those things. Yeah. So Teddy has been over the last few weeks taking a line from Rumi and then thinking of something in his own life that relates to it. So I'm just going to turn the camera around. Actually, before we say anything, is that the first signs of Christmas I can see there, Mummy? What is it?
I just found it underneath everything in the drawer.
Christmas tree decorations! So off you go, Teddy.
We're going to talk about pain in terms of physical, spiritual, and the other.
What's the other one? Physical?
Yeah, you'll find out.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But the physical, when you're unwell, when you're in pain,
yeah,
you go to the doctor, you go to the GP, to the hospital, and they give you pills, or they, suggest an operation. I personally have had 3 areas of pain in my life. The first one when I was 12. It was something to do with the tonsils. And the third-rate doctor just whipped them out, with a lot of pain, a long time ago. And then, believe it or not, at the age of 70, I got bad knees, very painful knees, and I had 2 knee replacements. And then soon after that, about the age of about 80, I think, I had a back pain, which was a slip disc. And then I had an operation, and the doctor was brilliant, the hospital was great.
You had terrific pain with that before that operation, didn't you?
Yeah. And I was glad to see the back of it. Mm. And then, I had a heart business, which is with stents, and that's about 6 months ago. So pain is physical pain. It accompanies you all your life, and there's always somebody who knows something about it and find a cure for you. That's one aspect, the physical pain. What about the spiritual pain? The pain in the heart, existential pain, or just being around in life can be painful. And for that, I have learned to go to the philosophers, the thinkers, people like Gibran and like Rumi. And you go to them and you ask them, you say, what do I do about pain? And Rumi would say to you, don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. And things like, these pains you feel are messengers. Listen to them. That's fascinating. Mm. Even in physical pain, the pain is a messenger trying to tell you that there is something wrong with you. And Gibran says something beautiful about pain as well. It has always accompanied me all my life, and I have listened to it and accepted it. He says,
so that was here, London-based author and activist. FC News, no pressure on free Andrew.
Go on, Mum. Go on.
I turned the sound off before you started. I don't know what happened. Sorry.
Are you all right? Have you finished?
Mark's going to have a job.
So, we go back to Gibran. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. In other words, without pain, you will never understand. Pain is a tax you have to pay in order to join life. And he says, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you have pain. And this is not a cure, it's not a pill, but it's a counsel. You know, it's a little light in the darkness. And I have always believed in them. They're not scientific, you know. But if you ignore them, you will lose a lot of consolation. You will lose a lot of good companions in life who will give you a pat on the shoulder and say, you know, take it easy, you will be all right. It's all part of life. And you can't escape somewhere and hide from pain. You can build all the palaces you want. You can go as far as you like. You can go underground, above ground. But the pain of life is so essential for us to accept it. And there is no escape from it. And then, of course, there is the third pain. Which is people who give you pain in the arse.
Oh, I didn't guess you were going to say that.
You know, and that is incurable, I'm afraid.
There's no answers for that one.
No philosophers, no physicians, nobody can help you.
Maybe people could comment below on what they think that one could do with the pain in the arse.
Well, you know, as an asset, a helpful something. I don't know. But, no, just...
What is your advice to somebody who's having to deal with the pain in the arse?
Walk away.
There we go.
Just walk away.
Yeah.
There's no other way. Yeah.
Thank you, Teddy Talks.
Thank you.
Walk away.
So there you go, another show, number 37, just to add to all the others. If you add all the shows together and watch them back to back, you will be occupied for an entire weekend, 48 hours.
Wow.
I've worked it out.
48 hours.
48 hours of us bleating nonsense constantly.